Aristotle's criticism of Plato's definition of poetry. Art is an imperfect copy of an imperfect copy. Twist removed from reality, so it is false. Aristotle view. He says that poetry is an imitation of not what is or has been, but what might be or ought to be. He does not agree with Plato that idea has an objective existence and the word of idea is absolute. He believes that idea is a mental abstraction born out of observation. It has no existence outside the mind of man. Aristotle declared that what exists is real. Plato used the word idea and thing, and Aristotle uses the word form for idea. Matter is material and form is the force working within it. Aristotle believed that there can no be matter without form and vice versa. Everything of this world, whether man, tree, mountain, is a combination of form and matter. Thing is not a slavish copy of metaphysical idea, but it is the combination of form, mind, an ideal thing in this world. Aristotle says that matter is obstructive and it cannot be easily melted. It would not allow itself to be molded into an ideal thing. There is no ideal man, woman, law, etc. We have pretty people and ugly people. Aristotle considers that thinking to be the greatest force in man. The thinking process is the greatest process, so by the thinking, a poet tries to find out the ideal in each case, and that is what the poet imitates. They imitate not the things but the ideal which cannot be achieved. What the poet does not exist, they imitate unrealized idea. Unrealized because the force was trying to achieve but failed. They are not imitating a particular thing as Plato thought, but unrealized idea that which has no happened. So the poet cannot be called copyist. A poet is a creator with what he gives is not just the thing, but the imagination, the reconstruction of them. So what is he conveying is not false. Poet has its own truth. Art is not servile. It is not twist removed from reality. The artist is an imitator, but the artist is not an imitator, but a creator. He gives a vision of unrealized thing. Number 2, poetry nourishes the emotion and feelings and weakens the reason. Aristotle view. He argues that poetry arouses feeling. He does not consider it to be harmful for moral development of man. He believes that If feelings and emotions are suppressed, then they become harmful for the healthy and moral development of man. He says that reason should be there, but it is not the wipe out the emotion. If feelings are suppressed, this creates it leads to moral hypocrisy and all sort of moral disorders. Poetry, by exciting these emotions, gives a harmful outlet, expression to these emotions, and in this way, the effect of the poetry is not bad, but it is healthy and good for moral development of man personally. Number 3, art leads to the weakening of personality. Aristotle view. When you watch a play or read an epic, you identify yourself into a character. You think yourself to be that character and pretending to be someone else who you are not. That leads to the weakening of personality, which is harmful both morally and psychologically. Aristotle declared that for healthy and development of man, it is necessary to forget ourselves. It is necessary to forget ourselves and identify ourselves with others of the need of others. Exactly, we are. Art and literature makes us realize the need of others. In the great drama like Antigone, we read in the fate of Antigone the doubtful fate of mankind. Similarly, in epic, we read the fate of man like Achilles. Buddha had asked that what is the root cause of all moral and psychological ailment? Sickness, illnesses, illness. Buddha replied that the root cause of all moral and psychological ailment is ourself, means is yourself. It is I and I want this. My desire, my ambitions. And I are the cause of all ailments. Yourself is your greatest enemy. The remedy Buddha suggested was the doctrine of no self. He went to extent of declaring that the self is an illusion and has no reality. There is a beautiful story of Buddha. There was a woman, she lost her only son. It was believed that holy men perform miracles. She asked Buddha to bring her son back to life somehow or the others. He compassionately assured her to bring her son to life. If she would bring a few seed from a house where no one ever died. But whenever she went, she was told that someone's their sister or husband had died. There was no house in which no had died. She hoped to find out at least one house, but when she went, she was told that of love. She stirred the thinking of sorrow of others, and she would forget her own grief. She come to Buddha not to bring her son to life back, but to show her the path to peace. Number 4, poetry was not theoretical but inductive. He took example of particular teachers' faults with the moral behavior of their gods and heroes. For example, in Homer, we have gods taking side with Greek and Trojans. He said that people impart teaching which is not morally wholesome. He concluded that poetry is bad and must be excluded. Aristotle says that the charge that the Plato has leveled is not against poetry as such, but against the poets. The fault is not that of the poetry. If Homer is giving wrong teaching, the fault is not that poetry, but of Homer. He does not argue with Plato that poet is a teacher. Similarly, if delight and indulgence in pleasure, the fault in Sappho, not of poetry. It's not the function of a poet to teach or moralize. Is to give pleasure. Art is not subject to morality, reason, or politics. To make you a pious and God-fearing is the duty of religion, not the duty of the poetry.